Hey fangirls and boys, this is Natalie and you're watching Whole Lotta Love, and today's video is a first impressions on the Ace Beaute Flair Eyeshadow Palette. So this eyeshadow palette released a couple of weeks ago and I ordered it online immediately as soon as it dropped. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. It's 15 colors and it's very colorful, but some of these colors are a little more muted, so it kind of gives you the option to like dip your toe into color or go all the way with it. So I think that these shades go really well together. They are, I was just so drawn to this color scheme. I did an unboxing of the Paradise collection. I actually purchased the PR box of the Ace Beaute Paradise collection, and those were 4 different palettes. I think that those had like 10 to 12 eyeshadows each in them, and those palettes were absolutely gorgeous. And I did a look using the Classical Paradise palette in that video, and I will link it below. So after that, I was super fangirl of Ace Beaute and very excited to see that they came out with a new palette so soon. I really think that this palette picks up where those palettes left off. I think those palettes were very similarly colorful. They had more kind of themed out colors. This kind of mixes the colors a little and kind of goes a little bit further, but still kind of plays really well with itself, and you can definitely get more wearable looks. And you have crazy colors like saffron, which I use for the most part in my crease, that like true bright red color over here, but you also have things that are a little more muted, like the shade Mulberry over here, and even this biscotti kind of taupey champagne, goldeny champagne shade. So you have a lot of fun different things here. You can do all kinds of different looks with this palette. So I create this look in the video, and this is the first impressions, so you'll kind of see how everything goes upon initial application, you know, kind of me going in blind without knowing exactly how things are going to perform. In addition to using the Flair Eyeshadow Palette by Ace Beaute, I also use this Makeup Forever Aqua XL color paint in the shade M20 to get a very fun electric blue wing going. So I did something, I felt like this was kind of like a different, really super colorful, fun look. So if you are interested in seeing how the eyeshadows in the Flair palette perform and how I got this look with the electric blue winged liner, if you are interested in seeing that, then keep on watching. Okay, so I am gonna go ahead and get started. I have the Ace Beaute Flair Eyeshadow Palette. This packaging looks absolutely gorgeous. It's similar to the packaging in their Paradise collection. It has kind of like this golden embroidered thing going on. This one is like an orangey red color. So I ordered this palette on the 10th of December when it released, and I received it on the 22nd. So that gives you an idea of the shipping time, and it retailed for $38.99, but I used the code DUPE that. I believe it was 10% off. So I got a little bit of a discount, so the actual palette matches the box packaging, which is really nice. It's a little more matte, but it still has like that gold embroidered kind of look to it. And it's nice and sleek. And this is what it looks like on the inside. And it does come with a mirror, and the mirror has like a nice little border on it as well. So that's really nice. I love the packaging of the Paradise collection palettes, and I feel like this is in a very similar vein. So I really like this. I'm just gonna go ahead and read the back of the eyeshadow palette so you can get a sense of what the vibes that the brand was going for. And it says, the Flair palette features a collection of rich, beautiful colors that are sure to stir your creative juices. It consists of 15 colors that can be used to create a variety of looks. Each color has been carefully milled and pressed to provide the easiest application and most excellent color payoff. So this has 0.84 ounces of product in it total. So if you break that down, so that's 0.056 ounces per pan, so almost 0.06 ounces per pan. So these are pretty, like they're pretty much full size eyeshadows, so that's pretty nice. So again, this is what it looks like. So this is a very colorful palette, but it kind of has a little bit of a muted color scheme to it, so that's nice. So it makes it, even though it's colors, it's not like neon brights that you would only wear sometimes. It's a little more wearable, but it's gonna allow you to experiment a little. Kind of has, you know, a couple of like neutral things going on, so you could do more like simple glam looks, and then it has like reds and blues, so you could do like more crazy fun looks if you want, or kind of integrate both and really experiment. So I'm really excited to try this, and what I'm gonna do is I'm going to do some arm swatches now of all of the colors so you can see what they look like. So those are what all 15 colors look like. Some of the mattes didn't swatch too pigmentedly on the first application. I kind of had to go over it a little bit. I don't necessarily think that's going to speak to what they look like on the eyes. I love all these colors. They're all fairly unique. There is a lot of warmth going on in this palette. So I feel like you have like 3 very similar shades of kind of like reddish orangey colors in saffron, pumpkin, and hazelnut. You also have cider, which is kind of like that mustardy yellow that goes along with it. Aubergine is purple, but it's kind of warm tone. This color Firefly is absolutely gorgeous. That's this one right over here. It just seems so unique. And I'm really excited to try all of these on my eyes eventually. So I will say that this palette has 4 shimmers in it and 11 mattes. So I think that's a pretty good matte to shimmer ratio. I think most people would really appreciate that. You could really build out the crease and do a lot with the mattes, and then just a few really nice looking pops on the lid, especially Firefly and Bayberry look really stunning and intense. And then this color Biscotti is just like a really pretty taupey, champagne-y kind of color, which is really nice, like goldeny, taupey, champagne thing going on. So I'm really excited to try this. I actually have an idea for a look in mind, so I am going to go ahead and get started with that. So the Flair palette doesn't really have a matte setting kind of highlighting brow bone shade for fair skin tone. So I'm going to go into my Huda Beauty Warm Brown Obsessions palette. I'm just going to use this color right here just to set everything. Set down the concealer I put on my entire lid. And this is typically how I do my eyeshadow, so I don't want to go straight in with the color because I feel like it'll kind of alter my typical experience with application. So I don't want to I want to kind of get a fair sense of what the Flair palette performs like in a normal circumstance of how I do my eyeshadow. So I definitely need to lay down something on top of the concealer I put down before I start going in with the color. And I'm using the Vintage Cosmetics Company Step 1 for the Money. It's a small flat shader brush to do this. I have a ton of glitter all over my face. You probably can't tell too much, but I'm living in glitter right now. I went to Gettysburg with my husband to visit my brother-in-law and his family, and when I was out there, since I was on vacation and not working and stuff like that, and I had extra time, I brought my 2 ColourPop individual eyeshadow palettes that I have gotten recently. One of them I created myself, one of them was all the new eyeshadows in a bundle, and those are super colorful and fun. I got to really experiment with eyeshadow looks, and there's going to be a lot more color going on in my looks as per usual, but I think I'm just really gonna keep it there from now on with my looks. I'm just so loving color, so I think this palette is perfect. So, okay, so I have laid down the base on my lids, and okay, so I have an idea of what I wanna do. So I think I'm gonna just go in, kind of create a transition with this shade Cider here, that mustardy one, and I'm gonna use my Royal & Nickel BOM 45 brush. And I'm using all the brushes I normally use just so I can get a really fair interpretation of how all of these eyeshadows perform. So this is the shade Cider above my crease as a transition. I think that looks pretty good. It deposited a lot of pigment pretty quickly, and it doesn't really seem to be sticking weirdly. It seems to blend out pretty nicely. And the next shade I'm going to go in with, I'm going to use my OCC small tapered blending brush. I'm going to go into my actual crease with the shade Saffron right here. This is that red, warm, hot red color in the palette. Going back into Cider with my Royal & Nickel Omnio BOM 45 just to diffuse the edges a little bit. So this is what I have so far. I put saffron in my crease and I have cider kind of blended out along the edges and above the crease. So I think this is working decently. The saffron shade is very pigmented. It does have like a really true color payoff. I really tried to blend it along the edges with the cider color, and it does look pretty messy right now. I don't think it's too terrible. I think I did really have to work the blend. It's a crazy bright red color, and sometimes these can be a little harder and messy to work with, and I will definitely be cleaning that up with concealer, so I'm not too worried about that at this point. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to cut my crease. I'm going to use my ColourPop flat concealer brush to do this, and the Huda Beauty Overachiever concealer. I'm gonna just coat my brush, and I'm using the shade Meringue in the concealer. And I'm gonna do a half cut crease. Okay, so I have cut my creases and I'm gonna go into the shade Sherbet here, which is that chartreuse shade in the palette. I really just cut my creases because I have hooded lids, and with all the red I've laid down, if I tried to put chartreuse right directly on my lid with that, it would all just really blend together and kind of really muddy up. So I want to retain the dignity of this color, so to speak, on my lid, so that's why I cut my crease. I'm just gonna lay this Sherbet color all where I cut the crease. So this is what the color Sherbet looks like on my lid over the cut crease. I think that that looks okay. I feel like I was having trouble cutting my creases. They're not as clean as I would like them to be necessarily. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to dip into these two shades here called Hazelnut and Acorn, and I'm going to blend out that edge where I cut the crease with those two. I'm going to kind of deepen up that pseudo outer V, kind of where, yeah, like I'm gonna kind of create like a little bit of outer V effect and kind of camouflage that demarcation where I cut the crease and where the saffron color starts up again. So you can see over here these shades are pretty powdery, and going in between them I'm kind of like messing them up a little bit, which is fine. I feel like these two shades are a little more powdery than the saffron shade and the cider shade I was working with, but maybe it's just because I was going back and forth. But there's definitely cake up, which, you know, doesn't really bother me, just pointing it out. So yeah, I'm going between those two shades. And I am putting that right over where I cut the crease, or right over the edge over there, where the half cut crease ends. I definitely have fallout on my face, which is annoying because I have foundation on, but I'm just gonna try to brush that away a little, and I'll conceal that later on. So I'm using my OCC smaller tapered blending brush to do this, and I'm just really trying to blend that out. I'm gonna go back over top a little bit with Sherbet to lose a little bit of that color with the darker colors. So this is what I have going on so far. It looks okay. I do notice over here that there is a little bit of demarcation that I just can't blend out on this eye in particular, where I tried to deepen up using Hazelnut and Acorn, like that edge. So if you could kind of see it there, it's kind of like skipping, and I can't, like, I'm trying to put a little bit of saffron on the outer a little bit to kind of, you know, get some pigment on top of that area, but it's kind of resisting that a little bit. It looks a little bit better on this eye. I just kind of feel like, I think this is more because I'm trying to blend over, and it's always a little bit tricky when you cut the crease to try to blend over the top of the edge of that. I find that that's just a huge pain in the ass. Typically, I'm not super loving the way that that's looking. I am going to keep working on my look and try to kind of create an end result that flows together. I don't think the blend is too bad. I'm not loving how it came out on this eye. This eye looks better, and I feel like I should have gone in with just Hazelnut. I think Acorn deepened it up and muddied it up more than I wanted it to. So I think that that was just kind of like a user error. But I mean, all the colors are supposed to go together. But I think, you know, just for my personal preference with what I was going for, I should have just used Hazelnut to deepen without the Acorn. I think that that kind of made it a little too deep and muddy and also made that demarcation a little more obvious. Okay, so I am going to try to experiment a little bit more, which may or may not pay off for me. I am going to use this Makeup Forever Aqua XL color paint, and this is in the shade M20. This is an electric blue shade, and what I want to do is I want to create a wing with this. I am going to clean off my ColourPop small flat concealer brush to do this. Okay, so I have created my wing, and I am going to go into the shade here called Bayberry. So this is kind of like a little bit of a sky, little bit of teal metallic blue foil shade. It has like, it's almost like a little bit of a sea foam, but also like a little bit of a sky blue shade. It's a nice shade. It's kind of unique. So I'm just putting this in my inner corner again using my Vintage Cosmetics Company One for the Money brush. So that is the shade Bayberry in my inner corner. I really like how that looks. It looks really sparkly, but it's not super intense. Like, it still has a little bit of a sheerness to it. Not truly sheer, but, you know, nice enough that it can go into the inner corner. And I really think it helped kind of bring the whole look together. I think with all the mattes and everything, it was looking a little intense, but I think that kind of just like adds some shimmer and softens everything. It kind of helps everything look a little more blended to me, and it plays really well with the blue winged liner, and I think everything's looking really, is starting to come together. So I am going to apply mascara. I have my Butter London Double Deckers Lashes mascara here. So that is the mascara on my upper lashes. I am going to line my waterline using the Urban Decay and Jean Michel Basquiat 24/7 Glide On Eye Pencil in the shade Vivid. So I am going to conceal under my eyes. I have the Huda Beauty Overachiever Concealer in the shade Meringue. With this product, you kind of have to make sure you squeeze it out before you start applying it to your eyes, because if you're squeezing it out as you apply it, sometimes it kind of like sputters out. Like, I've gotten concealer, like little spots of concealer where I don't want them on my eyes, so I kind of like to just squeeze it out before I start applying it, before it's near my eye. So I'm just cleaning up that edge a little bit as well, where all that red shadow is kind of going all over the place. So I've concealed under my eyes. I do feel a lot better. I feel like this is really cool looking. I am going to do my lower lash line now. I think on my lower lash line, I'm gonna go ahead and use a couple of shades. I'm gonna use Atlantis more on the outer part of my lower lash line, and I'm gonna use this Incredibly Gorgeous, because I just can't not use it in this look. This Incredibly Gorgeous shade Firefly, I'm gonna put that more on the inner, on the lower lash line. I can't wait to do a look with that all over my lid, but for now I'm just gonna sneak in it a little bit on the lower lash line. So I'll start with that color, the Firefly. I'll just do that on the inner part of my lower lash line. And I'm using a MAC 219. Dust off some of the excess. So that is what Firefly looks like on the bottom inner part of my lower lash line. It looks pretty nice, it looks pretty pigmented, and it's pretty cool. So I'm gonna use Atlantis, the shade right over here, and I'm just gonna go on the outer part of the lower lash line, dust off the excess because this is a deeper color, and try to blend it into that Firefly shade. Okay, that is what Atlantis looks like on the lower lash line. That shade is pretty pigmented and it didn't get too messy, which I can appreciate under lower lash line. I'm just going to take my OCC Cosmetics Smaller Tapered Blending Brush and just kind of try to merge the Firefly and Atlantis at that edge a little bit more and just buff out the lower lash line a little bit more. So that is the lower lash line done. I think it looks pretty good, and I am going to finish my lower lashes with mascara. So this is the eyes done. I think they look pretty good. I do have a few little areas where I feel like things could have blended out a little bit better, but I love the way these colors play together, and I think I'm happy with the way my wing came out, and I'm happy with the look overall. I really think these colors play really well together, and it's just such a fun, colorful, almost autumnal, but autumnal with color kind of look, something really nice. So I'm going to finish my face. I'm going to put on blush and highlight, and I will be right back to put on some lipstick. Okay, blush and highlight are on, and I am going to do my lips. I'm going to use the Jeffree Star Cosmetics Velour Lip Liner, and this is in the shade Red Rum, to line my lips. Okay, I have lined my lips, and I am going to go in with the Kat Von D Studded Kiss lipstick, and this is in the shade Santa Sangre, and this is from her 10th anniversary collection, which is why it's gold, and it's absolutely beautiful. I haven't tried this yet, even though I've had it for a while, so I'm excited to try it. It's just a true red shade. Okay, so this is the completed look. I really like the colors of this look. I think it's like a very vibrant red toned color with a little bit of a bluish twist to it. I really am digging it. I do love the lip. As far as the Ace Beaute eyeshadow palette goes, I think this color scheme is amazing. I love this choice of reds, the fact that they put saffron, pumpkin, and hazelnut in this palette, and also firefly. I think that these shades are just so warm and gorgeous. Even though we've seen a million warm tone palettes, I think that these are very saturated, and these are warm tone shades done right. They're really like taken to that extreme. And I do love that there are other options for color. The bottom row is very blue and green, which I think is really pretty. You have a couple of purples in there. So it is nice and colorful. I think it is primarily warm tone, but you definitely have a few blues and things to play with, and I think these shades go together really nicely. And yeah, so I am very happy with the color scheme of this. So in terms of how the eyeshadows performed, I think that they're very pigmented, and they're very true to color on the eyes, which is really nice. I did have a little bit of trouble blending. You could see it kind of over here along the edge. You could see it's not quite blended, where the outer shade over here, kind of where the red shade, the saffron shade, begins and that yellow cider kind of ends. I had a little bit of trouble blending, and especially where I was trying to kind of like hide the cut crease and deepen that outer edge where the half cut crease kind of ends. I definitely had some demarcation there. Again, user error. I definitely, if I could go back, I would have just used hazelnut and skipped on acorn. I think that that deepened and muddied things up in a direction I didn't want to go in for this look. That part was user error. In terms of the blending, it's not horrible. It's not like I think that this looks completely unblended and completely muddy and messy. I don't think so. I just have been working with the ColourPop shadows a lot lately, those single shadows, and I feel like compared to something like this, those blend themselves. This takes a little more work, but again, I do love the color scheme of this palette. I think some of these shades are fairly unique, especially that Firefly shade, this shade that I have right here on the inner part of my lower lash line. It's such a beautiful, unique shade. I absolutely love that. It's so saturated. Yeah, I mean, I want to try this a little bit more to see if I keep having like those same issues with blending, which would kind of be a little bit disappointing, but I definitely think that I can get this to work, and I think I'm not going anywhere today, but I really do love this look, and I would definitely rock this outside. I don't feel like I would have to start over or anything like that. I really do like the way that this looks. I really do love that chartreuse shade on the lid. I think that that's really cool, and I'm been very excited to play with color lately, and I think that this palette is I think this is kind of almost like gateway drug into like a truly colorful scheme. It is very colorful, but it's not straight up neon rainbowy shades, so it's kind of like a good in between. So if you're like been playing with neutrals, been scared, and then you're finally like, okay, I want to finally just go there and really play with color, this is something that could kind of take you to that place without being too intimidating. Like if you don't want to do the reds like I did right away, you can even kind of go in with like pumpkin instead of the shade here, saffron, that's like a little bit, I would imagine, a little bit easier to work with and things like that than like the true red. And then you have some like safe mauve tones and different things like that. So yeah, this I think is kind of like a good palette for someone who's really ready to take the plunge into color, so to speak. And I'm really happy I have it, and I'm really excited to see what other completely different color combos I can come up with. I definitely think that there are a ton. I think the packaging is beautiful. I love that it comes with a mirror. It's just very sleek, and I think that they've really started to define their aesthetic, or they're really kind of taking off with their aesthetic this year, this brand. It keeps in line with the Paradise collection in terms of the aesthetic, and I think it's beautiful. I think this palette is really beautiful. I just hope that I don't have too many problems blending with it in the future when I use it. Anyway, that completes this video. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and have a good one. Bye guys.